it's like you said, short turnaround, but I think the emotion coming off the last game is just to reset a little bit, to regroup in terms of recovery, and mentally I felt like the guys put a lot into it. So trying to recover but not lose the tension in our bodies that I think that served us really well the other night. And so today was just a quick look back, some video at some of the things I thought we did really well that set the stage for us to be successful. And tomorrow we'll set our preparation up for the weekend, and I think everyone is locked in. Today they're still in recovery, and just like I said, but tomorrow I suspect everybody will be ready to go and looking forward to playing again. I mean, they don't like to train, they like to play games, so this is an opportunity, and it's the 7th in whatever it was, 24, 27 days, something. And but on the other side of it, they know they have a little rest period, so the expectation is that everything will be laid out there to get the result.
You just played Austin 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. You think it's a different group coming in here, style of play, sort of, or you expect them to be the way the same style of play?
I don't think that they're going to change their style of play. I think they're a good attacking team. They like to have the ball. They're active. I don't think they'll change the way they play. They may or may not determine how high they want to defend us versus how low they might want to defend us. But I think the game will dictate how that plays out. If we're able to break their initial pressure, then I don't see them staying high for very long. They might start that way to see if they can gain some momentum out of it. But I think the game will play out, and both teams have, I said this last time, both teams have a similar vision of how they want to play, and so it'll be about who can protect themselves against a good attack, and who can create the better opportunities and ultimately execute. So I don't think style of play will change much for either group.
Greg, do you have an update on Sega and just overall updates on Douglas and anybody else that we should know?
With Sega, I mean, he won't be available this weekend. It's not a serious injury, thankfully. It's just going to take us a little time to get through. He's got a bit of a bone bruise and maybe some meniscus stuff that may or may not be worth going in and dealing with. It may be old, it may be not. We're going to see how he recovers here over the next week or so, and then decide if something minor needs to be done or not. But so far every day he's recovering and feeling better, and we're going to keep riding that out. And then obviously on the other side of this game we have the 3 weeks before the next one, so that will give him time to recover, and we'll really have a good assessment here in the next handful of days is if there's a next step, or if he's just going to be able to recover through rehab and all that good stuff. So with Douglas, it's a minor hamstring issue coming out of the last game. When he came into the game, he made a movement that left him a little vulnerable, and so on that, I don't necessarily see him as being quite ready for this weekend. So that's what he's after.
What about Zavaleta? It was a groin?
Yeah, his groin. He's training full now. He'll be back into the mix. It was a risk reward on Wednesday, but this gave him a few more days to train at full, and so far he's been good. So my expectation is he'll be ready to go.
We've seen the under 20 list come out. I guess Johnny is going to go to Mexico.
Yep. Jalen
and Marcus are on the.
Yep.
Is that provisional roster or is that the final roster?
I don't know if it's provisional or final. I know that I think it's final, and that they'll be joining for their respective countries for qualification. So that's good for us. Three players that are going to be there and gaining that experience. We'll miss them, but I think it's it's one of those things in your career that I think is important, and I think it's an opportunity for them to go and play international soccer, which is good for them.
That's going to leave you a little short, though. I mean,
it's a short.
Johnny has been on the first team roster the last couple of games, and Jalen as well. But how do you sort of navigate that? Maybe a month or?
Yeah, I think ultimately it ends up being, because of the 3 weeks that we have off, I think it's going to end up being probably a couple weeks.
Okay.
Not a ton of games from the first team perspective. What they'll miss is like 5 games that are second team for the guys who get a lot of minutes there. But those will be replaced by some good international, tough, just rough matches that are I think important just for the growth, maturity of players playing in tough environments and tough situations. I think it's not a bad thing for them. So we'll manage while they're out. Like I said, it's going to be a little more difficult for Johan because it's 2 of his center backs, and so it'll be a little bit tougher for him. But for us, I think we'll be okay in that stretch.
Also wanted to ask about keeper position here. You started Jonathan Hinsman last game. just his overall performance, and was that more of a rotation decision, or was that just based off recent performances from Vaughn?
Well, it was, JK has been running us through the Open Cup, and it was another Open Cup game, so he's done that, but I think he's looked solid in all of his outings, so I feel very confident with him back there. That's where that one is. I think he played very well. I think he had a great performance from his team in front of him too, which makes things a lot clearer for our goalkeeper. I think they had one shot on goal, and that was in the 85th minute. We were already up 3-0 by the time, he kind of has to really make a save or try to make a save. And so, but I thought his decisions with the ball, I thought the distance that he was getting on some of his clearances, and some of his, he broke us out on the third goal with because he sprinted the ball to the top of the box and threw it, which led us into a counterattack. And so, again, I thought his decisions were very good. I really truly believe that we have two starting capable goalkeepers in our club, and I love that JK keeps pushing it, and we'll see as we keep going, but I want both guys to be sharp and ready to go. And this tournament is JK's tournament. If we're going to lift the trophy, it's going to be with him in the back of the net. That's something I'm committed to, and the rest we'll see how it plays out.
Also, obviously, Kevin had a phenomenal game. Has it been nice kind of to see his growth, given he's faced a lot of criticism in the past?
Yeah, with Kevin, he's a lot mature here than I think maybe people understand. I think he understands that he's still a young player. He's developing. There's growth. He has a lot of pressure on him because he carries a DP tag inside of the LA Galaxy and inside of MLS. But I feel like he's emotionally managed that pretty well for a young player. He keeps working. Like I said the other night, I trust him implicitly on the field to be connected with the group tactically, to help us defensively, to give us the sprinting and the running off the ball that he gives us every single game. Just the piece of his game that he knows that needs to come along. It's just more final product, but for all of us, I can say probably to a guy in our locker room and in our staff and club, we're so happy for him to score that goal, because it just it reinforces in the game that he had. I think reinforces the quality that he has as a player and what he can bring to the table for us. He and Sam on both sides gave us just a different level of acceleration and speed. These guys covered so much ground at high speed that it puts the opposition's defenders on notice, which creates space between our lines, which does a lot of things for us. And so I liked both of them. I thought Kevin had a great day. I think Sam had maybe his best performance ever with the Galaxy, just in sheer playing every single play the way he did. And so that takes us to a different speed as a team, which is, I think, important in our league. And we were very dangerous in the counterattack, which I haven't seen for a little while, and that was good, because I think it's one of our strengths. And I think Javier, when the space opens up and Javier has some space to move and create separation, that's when we see Javier at his best too. I mean, the goal that Kevin scores, the movement that Javier makes to get himself free is as impressive as the goal that Kevin ends up scoring on the same play. But you start to see all the capabilities of the group when the game gets going a little bit faster for us and there's a little more space.
And you mentioned Sam. How do you see that pairing or that shift happen once Douglas returns?
Yeah, we'll see. Guys who help the team be the best are the guys that will be on the field, and so we're looking for the best version of us. And one of those is that we get some dynamic actions from our front group, that we can continue to play the game at the right speed, that we can make it uncomfortable for the opposition, and that we can create chances and score goals, but also collectively commit to the defending effort that we did the other night. Because I said this at the beginning of the year, when we were not conceding opportunities, we were certainly getting results. And the last couple of home games we gave up goals early, and that hasn't been a good formula for us. So when we defend well, we defend as a unit, we're more efficient, and we present ourselves with real opportunities as the game starts to progress.
In terms of ground cover, you guys track all that stuff?
Yeah.
Who's the leader? How high is Cabral up on that list?
He's usually right at the top. It's Kevin, Julian, Efra, Mark Delgado. It depends on the metrics, right? If you're talking about like top high speed running, it's those three guys. If you're talking about just sheer distance cover, Marky is almost always on top, because he doesn't, because he's a central midfielder, he doesn't have to sprint as much. He's covering territory inside of the group, versus those guys have the length of the field to really open up their legs. But those three guys are on top of the league. They're three of the top guys in the league in terms of high speed distance covered in games. It's usually well over 1,000 meters for them, and that's a lot, you know. Markey does in terms of just sheer coverage. Markey's is on top of the league too. He's at like 13K a game, and so it's those are all impressive numbers for sure.
Is there a secret stat sheet somewhere we're missing, or?
The second spectrum stats. Yeah.
Raw's up there too. Not quite the same and different from game to game, but Raw's up there too. I mean, we've got I think we had 9 guys in this last game who had speeds over 19 miles an hour, which is just that's impressive. More importantly, it was impressive because it was going forward and not going backwards. Right? So it was a great physical performance, but also it was a very efficient performance physically. Like we look at meters per second and stuff like that, and it was one of our lower meters per second games, and part of that is just the efficiency. Everybody was working together, which meant nobody had to do excessive volumes of work. It was shared, which is another really positive sign inside of the performance the other night.
Okay, one more for you, Greg, just in terms of the Open Cup, you're hosting Sacramento next. Where's the mentality of the team in terms of wanting to win that trophy?
Yeah. It's the same. This is if we're playing LAFC or anybody else. This is what we started this tournament with, which is if you're at the LA Galaxy, you're playing to win championships. And it doesn't matter what the championship is, it should be that way. If it's the inter-club, intramural championship, we should step out on the field to win championships. And this is the US Open Cup, which is, it's the oldest event in US soccer. So it has importance, but also it's an opportunity to get into Champions League. It's an opportunity to get the sense of what it feels like to lift a trophy and accomplish something together as a group. I don't talk about Toronto a lot around here, but the first trophy that Toronto won was in the last play of the game against Vancouver in the Canadian Championship, where we were literally down on goal differential, and it was the last play of the game, and Will Johnson stepped through a shot on a rebound, and if that rebound goes to midfield, the game's over, and he steps through a shot and scores, and the air went out of the building, and our group celebrated, and that was the first trophy that went on to lots of success for that group. And if they don't win that trophy, I don't believe that we set the stage for the success that came after, because then the group understands and believes that its ability to win championships is right in front of it, and it brings a group together. So for me, every single championship we're playing right now, every attempt at a trophy is valuable for us. And so that's the importance of playing Sacramento. They're in our way to get to where we want to go. We've got to deal with it that way. So.
Thank you, Greg.
All right, thank you.
Champions League prediction.